I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL. And I'm also here with me to co-host this thing is Derek Weathy, also known as DWeezy. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? I'm doing pretty all right. How about yourself?
I'm excited, man. I'm always excited to help the people make some money. You know, I love doing that. So if you guys can help us, since we're helping you out, you guys can help us out by liking this video and if subscribing if you have to, if you haven't already. So that definitely help us out because we're trying to help you out, so we can help each other out. But let's get into it. We are doing the AFC West this week. We'll be going through the division odds. We'll be going through over and under win totals for each team in this division. And so we will start out with the team that won the division. They went to the AFC Championship and lost in a uh, 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 had a great game against the Bills in the division round, but then lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship. They went 12-5 in the regular season, which is good enough to make them first place in the AFC West. But in the off season, they take some big losses. They lost Tyreek Hill, Tyron Matthew, safety Daniel Sorensen, running back Darrell Williams, receiver Demarcus Robinson, cornerback Shavarius Ward, linebacker Melvin Gordon, receiver Byron Pringle, guard Austin Blythe, guard Kyle Long, defensive tackle Jerron Reed. They added Marquez Valdez Scantling, safety Justin Reed, receiver Juju Smith Schuster, running back Ronald Jones, running back Jerick McKinnon, and safety Deion Bush. In the draft, they had 2 first-round picks. With the first one, they take cornerback Trent McDuffie out of Washington. They get first-round pick George Kalafdis from Purdue. And round 2, they get Sky Moore from Western Michigan. And for the second round pick, they get safety Brian Cook from Cincinnati. And yeah, this is a team that went to 3 or 4 straight championships in a row. They obviously lose, but all last year, I think both of us were pretty down on them. We bet against them a lot, and I think we were right in doing so because they weren't very good against the spread. I mean, they had a losing record against the spread, and I think both of us didn't really have faith in this team all last season. But yeah, how do you think about their chances this season?
Um, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see because, like you said, they've kind of done a little bit of retooling, and so it'll be interesting to see what kind of falls where um, with some of these positions. Like, how will the wide receiver group do with Tyreek Hill being gone? Um, I think they did well in trying to replace him, bringing in the talent that they did at the position. But like you said, last year, people kept saying, the Chiefs were going to heat up. The Chiefs were going to be the Chiefs of old, and it never happened. And that's more or less what we banked on all last season, where, as you said, they weren't covering the spread even when they were winning games. Um, and those are the types of things that you look to try and find when you're searching out some of these angles on games, and especially looking at things from a preseason perspective.
Yeah, so their odds to win the division are at plus 155, which I do really like the plus number. Like I think we said that last week when we were going over the West that we like seeing that plus number as a favorite. That's always seems like good value to me. Um, but I think that they have that plus number because the odds maker realize how tough this division is. I think this is probably the best division in football. Um, and I think that's why they get the plus number. I think that's why the odds are the way they are because they realize, there's a lot of teams that can win this division. Um, a lot of the odds are close, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them. Uh, at the over on a win loss total is at 10.5, and for me, I think they've have just too much turnover. They've lost too many big weapons. for me to like that over. I think that over is too high, and just because I don't like the over just mean they're just like a crap team. They still have the best quarterback in football. They still have a great coach in Andy Reid, and they still have Travis Kelsey. But I just feel that 10.5, that number is just that hook right at the end, that half point. That's too much for me. I like him at 10 wins, so I would have to take the under there. And by hitting 10 wins, I feel like this team is a wild card team, not necessarily the division winner. That's not my pick. But I do have them coming in second. So I would put at least a small bet for them to win. I wouldn't bet them big. I would pick them small because, like I said, I do like that plus number. I think that's too much value not to at least put some money on. So I would do that, even though I don't myself have them as a division winner.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Something that really stood out to me when I was looking at over the numbers was the fact that the book has, at least where I was looking, the book has three teams with a win total of at least 10 games. And
Yeah,
that I found to be rather shocking. Um, as you said, this could very well end up being the toughest division in football. That may not be represented by necessarily an overall record of all the teams in the division when you start to get into division games and beating up on each other, but this could very easily be the toughest division. Um, we have three teams with a potential top five quarterback. Uh, you have a lot of talent on a lot of these teams. They've shown that in the past they have the ability to win. Regardless of a number of these teams that you're talking about, and with the Chiefs, as you said, you're getting that plus number. Where I was looking, they had them at as the favorite, with the Chargers slightly behind them, not by much. So this could definitely be a division to look at and maybe play one or two futures on the division winner. Um, Something I was pulling up as you were talking about. To make the playoffs currently where I'm looking, the yes is minus 210, which to me says in line with what you were just saying that this team may not win the division, but making the playoffs is still a very strong conversation. So, as you said, I would tend to lean to the under on the game total wins, not clearing that 10.5. That hook being a big catch there, in my opinion. Even though they're the division favorite, that would me personally, I would look at potentially the Chargers or the Raiders in this division, just given some of the numbers that I see, and the Chiefs have that potential for drop off. Um, I expect the Chargers might be the way to go in this division as far as overall winner, but like you said, with that 10.5, I could see this team getting 10 wins, but with that hook out there and being in this division, I definitely have to go with the under.
yeah, I definitely feel the same way. I think that hook is just a little too much, but still feel like this team is they're still a good team. They still have Patrick Mahomes, so they're still going to be good. And they're just not going to have the same success in the regular season as you've seen them in the past, pretty much. But we will get to the team that has the second best odds. Um, that is the Los Angeles Chargers. Their odds to win the division are at plus 230, and this is a team that missed the playoffs on that final thrilling game. I mean, basically they were all saying like this is like the best regular season finale like of all time against the Raiders, and they missed the playoffs by losing that overtime game. They have in the off season they lose. Let's see, hold on. No, they in the off season they lose Shannon Wosu. They lose linebacker Kaiser White. They lose center Scott Quisenberry, defensive tackle Justin Jones. They add J.C. Jackson, Gerald Everett, Kyle Van Noy, cornerback Bryce Callahan, and defensive end Morgan Fox. In the draft, they take guard Zion Johnson, Boston College. They get around in the second round. They get safety J.T. Woods out of Baylor, and they get Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M in the fourth. So I think they're going the right direction by getting another guard in the first round, just like they did the previous year, again with Sean Slater. They want to protect um, Justin Herbert because we all know how good Justin Herbert is, a very good quarterback. So I feel like they're doing the right situation there, but I think their loss there I think their weakest part is their defense, and they lost their best tackler in Kyler White. That was a top tackler last year. I think that's gonna have a major act already on a pretty kind of weak defense already, um, because they were. Let me see. Let me read it. They were. I can't find it. 30th in run defense last season. That's not going to cut it. So I'm not too high on them, but maybe you are. What do you think about the Los Angeles Chargers?
Well, I definitely do agree with a lot that you had to say. I think that, yes, this team is on the verge of potentially, winning a division, maybe a deep run in the playoffs, maybe a Super Bowl appearance. I'm not sure if I would go quite that far, but I would not be shocked if come, next February or, next January, we're talking about them being a game or two away from a Super Bowl appearance. I do think the defense has a chance to be a little bit better than maybe you might see them with, you know, adding a Khalil Mack and Kyle Van Noy. Um, but a unit that's been, it's had its weaknesses, but I think the Chargers defense overall has been one of the better units in the league, and I think they added to that with this past off season. As you said, they made attempts to build in protecting the quarterback. You got Slater, who I don't know if he was a Pro Bowl, but definitely had a top notch
Yeah, I feel
year.
like he was.
Yeah, I feel like there was some award out there. I remember him at least being in contention for.
Yeah,
But great to see out of a rookie talent like that. You take in the first round. You know, there has to be a lot of eyeballs excited to see what he's going to do. Not in just the sense of keeping Justin Herbert upright, but if you have an elite blocker, that is the kind of guy that can help erase deficiencies of you know some of your lesser guys. And not to say that they're playing bad, but you get matched up against certain guys on the other side of that defensive line. You better be a top guy if you expect to handle them. And so having that, having a Slater maybe right there on their shoulder to give a little nudge or an extra little push before engaging their own man might be the difference between a broken play and a first down. So I do think, as I mentioned earlier, this team has a strong chance to win the division, and I think we'll see a better performance out of the defense this year. I think a big question will be, you know, does Joey Bosa stay healthy? I think that'll affect this defense a lot. Not to say that the defense is built around him, but he's one of those key cogs, and he's the type of player where you remove him from a lineup, it may not, turn the lineup into trash, but there will be a hole regardless of who you put in his place.
yeah. So you like them better than I do. Their over under is at 10.5, and I like again. Just because I'm picking over, I don't think they're a bad team. I think that number is just too high for me. I see them around more like 9 wins, just like they pretty much what they did last year, and just missing the playoffs again. I think that they're gonna repeat it. Also, their coach is a little. I respect it because I'm a gambler. We're both gamblers, and he gambles a lot. Gambles a lot on those fourth downs. But I think that catches up with them too much, um, and it results in some losses. And it definitely hurt them in the latter part of the season because I think they lost their last 3 out of 4 games, pretty close, and they lost them in overtime. And I think that resulted in them missing the playoffs right there.
Well, now another
Um,
interesting point you bring up the head coach. He's somebody else with another year under their belt. That they were last year basically rookie head coach. Nobody expected to see what they got out of them, and so it'll definitely be interesting. I think in the early part of the year to see how this team comes out of the gates.
yeah, definitely. Like I said, I still think it's a talented team, but I gotta say, I'll take the under. Have them missing the playoffs, and I would not put a wager on them to win the division. But actually, I mean, someone's got to lose this division. This is a very tough division. This is only a product. I probably would have them in playoffs and have a chance if they were in a different division. But someone's got to be at the bottom, and um, this is just my team. I think that they will probably be at the bottom of the division. And what are your bets?
Um, I'm gonna be on the over 10.5. I do share your sentiment. With this division, as tough as it is, somebody's gonna have to lose. Um, but I think the Chargers and the Chiefs, if two teams are coming out of this division, those would be the two. You know, I would lean towards the Chargers winning the division, but like I said, out of the three top teams that we have in this division, likely two are going to make the playoffs, and somebody's going to be sitting at home with a great record.
All right, so we're back to disagreeing. Oh, well, 'cause we were a little too much, but um, for the next team we will be going to is the Denver Broncos. They came in last place um, in the AFC West last season. They went 7-10. They missed the playoffs. They lose Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback. They lose cornerback Kyle Fuller, cornerback Bryce Callahan, defensive end Stephen Weatherly, and linebacker Kenny Young. They add Russell Wilson. They add hold on. They add Randy Gregory, defensive tackle DJ Jones, cornerback Quan Williams, guard Tom Compton, linebacker Alex Singleton, and guard Billy Turner. Um, and the notable draft picks are linebacker Nick Bonito out of Oklahoma, tight end Greg Dulcich out of UCLA, and cornerback Damari Mathis. And yeah, so one of the biggest moves of the offseason, and a lot of people saying how crazy the offseason was, but one of the biggest ones was Russell Wilson, obviously, and ton of success with the Seahawks. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, been to 2 Super Bowls. Um, and I mean, I really like him. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Me personally, that's why I think I really like this move for the Broncos. I think pretty much all they needed was a quarterback because I think they had a solid defense and a solid receiving core. So I really like this. I really like the Broncos this season. I'm very high on them. But how do you feel about them?
I definitely like the Russell Wilson move, bringing in a quarterback of that caliber compared to the talent pool that you had there in Denver prior. It's this by no, but no question, it's upgrade and a vast upgrade. I do think we're going to see Russell Wilson a bit on the downside of his career. Getting a little bit older, some of that wear and tear weighing on him. Not necessarily saying that he'll be injured or injury concerns, but just he in Seattle. It's not something I ever heard talked about much. But anytime you watched a Seattle game, you saw Russell Wilson back there running for his life. And I mean, people want to say, oh, let Russ cook. Well, Russ was out there trying to pull off a 5-star meal with a trip to the dollar store. Like, you know, there's only so much you can do with what you got. Now, sometimes you're going to be able to pull off something that'll have people's jaws on the floor. Other times, it's going to be a disaster. And I think Russell Wilson was able to do a lot in Seattle with some of the talent that he had around him, especially at the wide receiver position. Unfortunately, he does not have that in Denver. And though I'd like the move by Denver and I like Russell Wilson being in Denver, I don't see this being the year that they necessarily pull away. Yes, they had a 7-10 season last year, and I think that it will be a bit of the same, most likely. I think Russell Wilson can, go out there and win a couple games that maybe they might have lost last year. But at the same time, I don't think they brought enough to this team to elevate them much further beyond that 8 or 9 win threshold. And as we've been talking in this division, it more or less seems like if you can't put 10 wins on the board, you don't have a shot at making it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Unless you're able to snag a wild card spot. And even with them adding a wild card spot, trying to be that third team sneaking in, you typically need something to fall right for you in the sense of other teams playing bad. Um, so I definitely think Denver's going to find themselves on the outside looking in. But as I said, I agree with the move to get Russell Wilson and him being there. I just don't think this is the year for them.
Yes, so their divisional odds are plus 260 to win it. Their over under is 10.5. And yeah, I mean, I like it both. This is my division winner. I think they will win the AFC West. Like I said, I think all they really need was the quarterback. They're getting a new head coach in Nathaniel Hackett, and I think that's going to do wonders for Russell Wilson. He's kind of beefing a little bit with Pete Carroll and Seattle, and the way they ran their offense. And he's coming into like a good receiving core. They got Sutton, they got Judy, they got Patrick and Hamler. I think they do a lot with that coach quarterback combination with these receivers. I think they have good enough weapons to really let like you said, let Russ cook. And also, I think their defense is really good. I mean, they were third in defensive scoring. They were eighth in total defense. Their major problem last season was that they could not score points. Two different. They went on 2 different like 4-game losing streaks, and in both those losing streaks, they couldn't. They only scored 20 points or more just one time. So I think with Russell Wilson coming in, I think that's going to change. I think they're going to score a lot more points, and they won't go on these losing streaks. And I think they're going to win a lot of games. I really do think so, especially because they have like the weakest schedule just based on because they came in last. Obviously, they play last place schedule. The 15th strongest strength of schedule in the league, and the rest of the teams in the AFC West are all in the top 10. They have much harder schedules than the Broncos do, and especially early in the season, I believe they have a lot of easy games like they can take advantage of. So even though Russell and new coach will have to get adjusted, they have a little bit of cushion there to get going. And I think once they get going, I think it's all good, all good from there. And yeah, I think they will win this division. So that is my pick. I will bet them not like a whole heavy, like I still consider the rest of the division. So I'm not going to put all my money on them. I would maybe like a mid bet on them, not betting everything on them.
Yeah,
But
I
I do
definitely
like,
see this being another division where the smarter play might be to split a unit and put it on 2 teams, or even with this division.
yeah, I mean, I would put money on 3 teams, like I
Yeah,
said.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe put a little bit more on the Chiefs just because you're getting a lower plus number. But I mean, we could sit here and make an argument for all 3 of these teams to
Yeah,
potentially win the division.
yeah, absolutely. That's why I have like one medium bet on my division winner, two little small bets on two other teams in this division because I really feel like they all really have a shot, and especially at everybody having a plus number, I think that they all pretty much have some really good value. And yeah, just to wrap up, what was your bets on the Broncos?
I'll be taking the under 10. Um, I do kind of like it sitting at a flat where I was looking. They had it at a flat 10. Um, they had the under minus 105, which to me says that that under is potentially on the board. Not necessarily. I don't want to say more likely, but it's not your traditional minus number on one side, plus number on the other. It's minus 125 to the over, minus 105 to the under. So to me, that says this is definitely closer to being a coin flip. Maybe somewhere more in that range of like a 60-40 outcome. But yeah, I like the under.
All right. So we'll get to the final team in this division. The team with the longest odds, that is the Las Vegas Raiders at plus 650. Um, and this is a team that did get to the playoffs last season. They came in second in the AFC West at 10-7. They lose in the wild card, but they had a good shot at beating the Bengals in that game. But in the offseason, they do lose Zay Jones, quarterback Marcus Mariota, cornerback Casey Hayward, defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, cornerback Brandon Faison, linebacker Markel Lee, and defensive Solomon Thomas. In the they in free agency they add Chandler Jones, Bilal Nichols, Deron Harmon, receiver Demarcus Robinson, linebacker Jayon Brown, and defensive tackle Vernon Butler. In the draft, they take in round 3 guard Dylan Parham out of Memphis. Round 4, they took running back Samir White out of Georgia. And for the second, fourth round pick, they get defensive tackle Neil Farrell out of LSU. And yeah, amongst all the turmoil and chaos, especially with the two different controversies with Henry Ruggs, kind of all the stuff that he did, and then going through the firing of John Gruden, all that controversy, they still managed to win 10 games and get to the playoffs. And they did all that with with an interim head coach, and yeah, with the off season, like I said, that was really crazy. They make one of the major trades, which was to get Devontae Adams out of Green Bay. He wanted to obviously team up with his former college quarterback and Derek Carr. So yeah, I really like that move. I think that's going to be a major boost to their offense. But how do you feel about the 2022 Las Vegas Raiders?
To be honest, I find it very odd that we're sitting here talking about a team that was a playoff team last year, added potentially the best wide receiver in the league, and we're not even sure if they'll make it to the playoffs. Like that's how tough this division is. I mean, if that don't
Yeah,
say it right there, you potentially already had maybe a top 10, definitely top 15 quarterback in the league. You added the top wide receiver in the league. The defense, I don't see any necessarily major holes or any vacancies that really needed to be filled. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, not to say you're talking about the exact same team from last year, but this team, by a lot of people's opinions, overachieved last year,
yeah,
and it seems that they went out and improved the team. And we're still sitting here saying that there's a strong chance they might end up in last place in the division.
you know,
That's just insane. Um, yeah. That being said, where I was looking, the number was at 8.5. That number was juiced kind of heavy to the over, minus 135 to the over. Um, I mean, somebody in this division has to lose. Like they play each other. It's determined to happen. It's it's going to be wild to see how this division ends. I mean, I'm pretty sure if we go and compare every other division, you will not find a tighter spread between first and fourth. You got 10.5 for the Chiefs and Chargers. Where I was looking flat 10. You got 8.5 total wins for the Raiders. That's truly mind blowing right there. I want to say that the Raiders could definitely hit the over, but as I said, at least one team in this division has to lose, and if we feel that the previous three teams that we mentioned are the potential three top teams in this division, well, by default, the Raiders might find themselves in that last place spot, and yeah, I don't think they clear that over 8.5. You know, Derek Carr's had questions about injury concerns in the past. Some argument could be made that not that Adams necessarily drop off in talent, but he definitely had the better quarterback in Green Bay. Not to say that Carr is a scrub. He might be higher on some people's list than others, but he's not a potential backup going out there. I'd rather have Derek Carr than what we got in Carolina at the moment. I'll take Derek Carr over Baker or Sam Darnold any day.
Well, that's not saying much. But
But I'm just saying, like, it's still an improvement. So, I'm not gonna sit here and say Adams isn't gonna potentially have a Pro Bowl season, but at the same time, you know, I'm not going to pretend that Carr might not make it through the entire season keeping his job. So like that, like I said, that all this being said, I'd like to say the under is the way I'm going to lean on this one, but somebody's got to lose in this division, so I'm going to be on the under 8.5 with the Raiders.
all right. I'm a little, I like them a little more than you do.
Well, that's because you're
Um,
biased.
I'm biased. Because I'm in Vegas, so root for the home team. No, not because I'm biased. Because I do have faith in this team at least to get this over. Like I don't think 8.5 is too wild of a number to hit the over. I think they can get to 9 wins. I mean, they got to 10 with all the stuff they went through. They got to 10 wins with all that. They have a more stable, they have more stability this year. They have a more stable head coach, and I think McDaniel's is going to very much improve their offense. I think he's going to learn from what his time in Denver and the mistakes he made there. Um, like I said, I think Devontae Adams is going to be a great addition to already adding to Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, and Hunter Renfro. Um, and so I like them hit that over. But like you said, we are questioning whether they will make the playoffs or not. I really battled with that. Like I didn't really know if they could, and ultimately I would have to say no. I still even with 9 wins, I think they will miss the playoffs. Um, but even with that, I would bet them small to win the division just because I like the plus 650 value of that because all these teams are close, but since they have I just like betting on I just like betting the value there, just in case, they might, get some luck on their side. Um, but yeah, but like I said, I think this offense will improve with the additions they've made. Because I think uh 10 times last season, I think they scored under 20 points. That was their biggest fault last year. I think they improved their offense with the coach and the receiver, and I think that will help them score some points and help them win at least 9 games. I think that's very doable for them. Have them third in the AFC West, but ultimately, I think they still miss the playoffs. So, well, yeah, what are your final thoughts on the Raiders?
Um, yeah, I think they'll fall on the other side of that number. I think I'm gonna be playing the under with them. As I said, it's definitely the way they're situated. They're definitely worth keeping an eyeball on, if not for this year, for next year. Even with the deal that they made to get Adams, it didn't feel like they gave up too much to get him. And I know that's kind of hard to say when you have to give up the amount that you do with Adams, with a player like Adams. But I will say, I think I would have been more comfortable making that deal than um, the deal we saw go down for Tyreek Hill to get moved to Miami. Um, Now, another thought that it's rather interesting, a good side by side picture of a couple teammates, and especially if they're shirtless, just to show off the physique. Um, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfro play the same sport at the same position. All I'm saying is, you would have never guessed it.
All right, man. Well, that'll wrap up our talk on the AFC West division, and we'll get into our question portion of the show. And I wanted to talk about parlays. That is my favorite type of bet to make. I love because I don't have a lot of money. I like making small bets to win a lot of money. And how you can do that is you do parlays. Parlay is you make multiple bets on the same bet, but you have to win each bet to get a payout. If you lose one of your bets, you're done. You lost. But I like it. It's tough. It's really hard to win those bets. But they are my favorite. I love going to the casino. I love getting the parlay cards that they have there. I love just sitting down and making my picks and then doing my best that way because they only cost. I mean, you could they're like a $2 minimum on those cards. So it's not a lot of money. You're just basically having fun with it. You're not losing a whole lot, and you can win hundreds of dollars by making a $5 bet.
Yes,
Hundreds
very
of
true.
dollars. That is major profit. That's why I love it so much. And I have won, a couple of hundreds here and there, on just a $5 bet. That's why I love doing it. Um, but what do you agree with that? Parlays are a chumps bet, or do you make parlays, or what do you think about betting parlays?
Well, honestly, I think it can go both ways. You know, Now when you get into something where maybe you have a bit of a more keener eye on, say, maybe a division or maybe in the college ranks, knowing a conference a little bit better, if nothing more than just simply from following your own team. Um, but there are definitely ways that you can utilize a parlay to try and take advantage to find better values. Um, Especially in a sport like baseball, where in some games that money line may be juiced around, minus 180, minus 200, and you definitely don't really want to walk up and play that. But a simple little two-leg parlay with another team on the money line, whether it be a plus number or close, 120, minus 120, minus 130, just off that two-leg parlay, you can easily see a plus number in return, whether it be plus 120, plus 130. If the odds are a little bit better, you can even get into plus 200 and so on just off a two-leg parlay. So if you feel like that, in my opinion, if you feel like that you have a lean or a strong feel for a couple teams, definitely target those teams. And exactly like you said, there's no harm in you know putting them together in a little parlay, whether it's three, four, five. Once you start to get beyond that, you get more into that shot in the dark hit. Uh, Not necessarily discouraging it, but know what you're getting into when you go into it. Like, because it definitely sucks for something like that to die on that last leg. You got
that's
6
happened to
wins,
me
you need 7.
so many times. So many
See?
times I lose
See?
on the Sunday night game or even a Monday night game. I just needed just one more to hit, and I was gonna win big, and then
Yeah.
it's just I just
So
lose it.
it can definitely be something where, you know, you might decide, maybe dial it back a game or two. As I just said, it could be as simple as a 2-leg parlay where you just have 2 games in it and you were able to get a plus number out of it. You know, not having any numbers specifically right in front of me and just having baseball a little fresh in the brain. The Yankees the hottest team in the league. Well, if you can go get the Yankees and potentially another hot team on the money line and get a plus number out of that, even if one of them loses, you're not going to lose as much money as you would have trying to play that favorite by themselves.
All right, man. Well, that's our show. And if you have a question that you would like to ask, you just leave that in the comments, and we'll add it to the question part of our show, and we'll answer that for you. So go ahead and do that. But you can, Derek, you can tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube, and you can also reach out to me on Twitter at DWeatherly90. I also do a live segment on Lunch Break Hot Takes on Wednesday. So, come through, check things out, hit the subscribe and like button, whether it be here, whether it be on my channel, whether it be wherever you see our faces. Because I know Caleb's coming with fire NFL picks and info. It don't matter what the sport is. DWeezy coming with some fire. So, make sure to tune in and check us out.
All right, man. You can find me at NFLCamp22 on Instagram and Twitter. You can find my articles that go along with this show on Let'sGetReadyNetwork.com. Yeah, like I said, just like, subscribe, share with your friends. Um, but yeah, thank y'all for watching, and we will be on next week talking about Derek's favorite team in his favorite division. That is the NFC South, and we might have a special guest on there on that show as well. So definitely tune in for that one. But for now, yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.